Now, remember, the derivative is the limit. dy dx, the derivative, is simply the limit of delta y over delta x as delta x goes to 0. So imagine we start off with this value of delta y equal to 2. Then we let the value of delta x be 1. And let's go further. Let's even consider smaller values for delta x. Suppose we let the value of delta x be 1/2. What would delta y over delta x be? If delta x is 1/2, what would delta y over delta x be? 2 and 1/2, 2.5. Let me use decimals instead of fractions. Okay. Suppose delta x were 0.1. What would delta y over delta x be? 2.1. Suppose delta x were 0.01. What would the difference quotient be? 2.01. All right, one more. See, because we're evaluating the limit of this difference quotient as delta x goes to 0. So 0.01 is pretty small. It's getting smaller and smaller. Let's just do one more. 0.001, which would be 1,000. This is delta x. What is delta y over delta x? Ben? Exactly. Be more confident, Ben, in yourself. Come on. 2.001. So it sure looks like the limit of delta y over delta x as delta x approaches 0 is what? 2. Yeah. The limit, in this case, of delta y over delta x as delta x gets closer and closer and closer to 0 is equal to 2. Okay. Now, if this were a calculus class, we would actually prove this more rigorously, but I think you get the idea. The limit of delta y over delta x as delta x goes to 0 here is clearly 2. It's getting closer and closer to 2. Because this delta x is getting closer and closer and closer to 0. So in the limit, this just drops out. And the limit is just equal to 2. Okay, that's what the derivative is. It's the limit of the difference quotient as delta x approaches 0. Notice the delta x then disappears, and the derivative is just a function of x, or x sub 0, whatever x sub 0 is. Okay. So in a way, the derivative, in a way, is a simpler concept than the difference quotient, because the difference quotient is a function of not only x sub 0, but also delta x. The derivative is a function just of x sub 0. So in that way, the derivative actually is a simpler concept.